Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Lee, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. We welcome Anthony Moreau, and CEO, and Mark Bradley, VP Exploration of American Eagle Gold. They will speak to us about American Eagle's exploration projects in Nevada, particularly its drill-ready Golden Gate project. Tony and Mark, you have 10 minutes, and then we'll have a 5-minute Q&A at the end of the session. Attendees, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A link below. Take it away, gentlemen.
Hi, Tim. Thank you very much. My name is Anthony Moreau. I'm the CEO of American Eagle Gold. We're a Nevada-focused exploration company. And with me right here is Mark Bradley. Mark Bradley is a former geologist at Barrick. He led the team that made the Gold Rush discovery that is right next to our property. There's three things that I want you to remember. It's our location. I think we have the best in the world in terms of location, next to Barrick's actual location where they're producing. We have the people in Mark. We have near-term catalysts in terms of we are starting to drill in November. And our property is very prospective, but no one has put the proper work that we are putting in right now, front-end work and actual drilling work. We're doing some deep drilling that we hope to find a world-class ore body. I feel like this is speed dating, so I'm going to get through this presentation as fast as possible so I can leave some time for Q&A at the end. Really quickly, we're part of the OR group. Some of you may or may not be familiar with us. We're a Toronto-based junior exploration group. Look at like the junior version of the Lundin group. We focus on our people, and we have properties with commodities that we think that will be strong regardless of the different cycles: uranium, nickel, copper, gold, and we're in safe jurisdictions. It's very important to be in safe jurisdictions. It's one thing having an ore body. It's another thing making sure that no government's going to take it away from you. So those are all of our different companies. We've had a lot of recent successes recently with Baseload Energy. They found a uranium deposit in Saskatchewan, and QC Copper. We just came out with our maiden resource. But I'll talk about American Eagle Gold. So if you look really quickly, we have a market cap of around $6.5 million. We have a lot of torque. There's a lot of room for upside. If we hit our ore body, it's going to the moon. We went public in May. We went over 30 cents, and since then, we're trending down a bit, and a lot of that is because of the gold market, investor fatigue, and we also got spun out as a plan of arrangement, which means people that actually owned the previous stock that we came out of, they sold our shares of dividends because they weren't part of that story. But all of those investors are now out, and now with drilling starting in November, we believe we have tailwinds behind us. So this is our company. There's three main things. Again, it's our location. We are located on the Cortez trend. We're not near Barrick's Cortez property. We are attached to it. We're adjacent to it, right next to Gold Rush and just south of Cortez Hills mine. The other thing, again, we have the people with Mark Bradley. He knows how to find that underground Carlin type deposit. And also, we're drilling in November. So Nevada, again, you want to be somewhere that's safe. There's no better place in the world. This isn't just rhetoric than Nevada. It's a mining-friendly state. They have world-class deposits everywhere. And if you look at this area right there, that's about the size of Massachusetts. They produce over 7 million ounces of gold in this area on average for the last 25 years. The real players in this area are Barrick and Newmont. And this area of the world, in terms of producing gold, is relatively new. These are Carlin type deposits, and when Carlin type deposits means it's invisible gold. So when people travel over the United States to go to the 489 Gold Rush, they actually walked right over this gold. It wasn't until the 1960s that people discovered this area, and since then there's been deposits after deposits discovered. And we believe we are in the most fertile land to make a world-class ore body deposit discovery. So if you narrow right in here on the Cortez trend, as you can see, the Cortez trend is right next to the Carlin trend. The future of Barrick's company is really on the Cortez. So if you go right here and you focus in on it, our land was originally staked 30 years ago. At the time, it was 25 kilometers south of Pipeline. Since then, Cortez Hills got discovered, Gold Rush got discovered, and 4 Mile got discovered. So as opposed to being 25 kilometers south 25 years ago, we're now just 4 kilometers south of Gold Rush. All these discoveries are trending south, and they're getting a little bit deeper, but it's just a matter of time before the next deposit is going to be found right on our land. Again, Pipeline, Cortez Hills, Gold Rush, all right next to us, all have over 10 million ounces. I think two things that geologists can agree on. They agree that these deposits are going to be continuing to be found on a southern trend, but they're going to be underground. So that's what we're focused on. That's why we have on the mark on the team He made the gold rush discovery, and he knows how to find those underground Carlin type deposits, which are the future of this area where we are. Getting even closer here on the Golden Gate property, which is what American Eagle has. It's a huge property. It's over 7,000 acres. And as you can see, it's south of four deposits: Pipeline, Cortez Hills, Gold Rush, and 4 Mile. What's interesting about our property, we completely border the south part of Barrick's Cortez property. So we have 2 kicks to the can to hit deposits similar to Cortez Hills, that's north, and also Gold Rush, that's north. So right now we're focusing on finding an underground deposit that is similar to both. The project history. The great thing about our project, it hasn't really been drilled on. So there hasn't been a history of people making misses. People didn't really know how to explore in this property. There are a lot of shallow holes. The time of finding oxide near surface deposits, it's over. As I mentioned before, the future is underground deposits. You gotta drill deep drill holes under 500, over 500 meters. The history of this has all been shallow holes. So no one has properly explored the land until us, to what we're going to do in November, which I'm very excited for. We believe that there is a large underground deposit on our property. So if you look right here, this is a long section of our property. So if you look at the bottom map, it kind of shows you what we're looking at. So what happens here is originally you had Pipeline. The Pipeline was all open pit, pure oxides and open pit mine. You move south 10 kilometers, you got Cortez Hills. And what Cortez Hills is, it's an open pit underground mine. Any of the underground mines besides Gold Rush, they're extensions of the oxide deposits. So right here you have Cortez Hills that's dual. And then south, what we're looking at, we're hoping that we're gonna have an underground deposit at Golden Gate. So like pearls on a string, they're on trend, they're just getting a little bit deeper. So you need some specialized people in terms of finding it. And that's, again, why we have Mark on our side. As you can see, we have 2 main targets. We have the Northern Cortez target and the Southern Cortez target that Mark will be explaining a little bit further on. So a lot of the players in the area besides Barrick and Newmont, they don't spend the proper type of work. What they do is they're junior companies and they just do wildcat holes. They want to get the investors excited and they're crossing their fingers that they hit something. We are a small company. We're $7 million market cap, but we have a big company approach. We have Mark Bradley on our team. And what we said is it's a tortoise in the hare. We want to put in the proper work Barrick and Newmont puts in to find these deposits. There's a reason why Barrick and Newmont are the only companies that make these world-class deposits, because they do put the proper work in. And what we do is we take philosophies from oil and gas and large mining companies. We did CSAMT and we did seismic. And in layman's terms, what is that? Seismic allows us to know the structure of the rocks underground. The CSAMT lets us know what type of rocks are underground. It gives us as best of an idea of an X-ray so we can do the drill targets in the area with the best probability of success. We want to spend our investors' money wisely, and it's all about drilling. It's all about hitting the highest probability to hit an ore body. So if you've seen what we've done so far, we've hit our targets. We've done the front end work. We did a lot of GIS compilation. We brought everything online. And now we succeeded in our permitting and we're looking to start drilling in November. We actually just hired major drilling and the drills will be turning in November. So the first thing I talked about was the location. We're in the best location to be looking for gold, world-class gold deposits. The second thing is you need that person that knows how to find them. It's one thing having a property, it's the other thing having the person in charge of that drill program. We have Mark Bradley, he's right here. He discovered the Gold Rush deposit that's right next door. And why Gold Rush is very important, why I talk about it, it's the very first Carlin type underground deposit that was ever made. Every other underground deposit was an extension of the oxides, open pit. Mark was the first one that made that discovery. So we have the knowledge base. We have the person that knows what type of work you have to do to make that underground Carlin type deposit. And I'm gonna let Mark speak a little bit about where we're doing our drill targets and just give an example of our Southern Cortez target.
All right, thanks, Tony. Yeah, as Tony was just saying, we basically utilized a number of different data sets in our targeting program. We looked at the historic soil geochemistry on the property, also remapped the surface geology. Not a lot of outcrops, so we were doing a lot of float mapping, but we were able to identify some broad trends as a result. In coming out of this, we've defined the 2 priority target areas, which are shown in the yellow ovals here on the property map. And the real point here is we want to look for the lower plate rocks, the favorable lower plate carbonate rocks, which are the principal hosts of Carlin type deposits, and particularly in the Cortez area. Together with the lower plate, we also want to see low angle structures, fold thrusting, which we identified through the seismic work. And of course, we want to see favorable alteration and hopefully some mineralization indicative of a major gold system. So that's really our major goal for this year's program. Go ahead, next slide, please. So this is a section, basically, this is the southernmost CSAMT line, the sectional interpretation that came out of that. To point out here, what we're looking at in the CSAMT is trying to come up with the types of rocks that we're looking at. And what we've seen elsewhere in the region is that where you get highly resistive rocks, which are shown in the cool colors in this section, that could be indicative of more resistive carbonate rocks as opposed to the more conductive rocks, the siliciclastic conductive rocks in the upper plate, or the overlying volcanics, the young volcanics. So here in the southernmost line, we see a strong resistivity high at depth and what we would say rooted. It's not one of these little disembodied types that you see elsewhere in the section here, but it's definitely strong and continuous and suggests that, okay, this may be a real indication of lower plate rock. So that's kind of one of the targeting criteria we put into our system here. And of course, we tie that into our structural interpretation for the seismic data and any indication, surface indications for soil geochemistry in our mapping program.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm going to speed ahead because we're going to leave a little bit of time for G&A, but just to let you know, our permits got approved. We hired a drill contractor and we're starting in November. And again, our 3 main things, which our company is based on, the foundation is location. We're in the Cortez Trend next to Barrick. We have the people. We have the former Barrick employee that knows how, that led the team that made the gold rush discovery, and we're drilling. We have catalysts. We're doing a heavy marketing campaign starting now. So we're very excited. Thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony and Mark, for the excellent presentation. We'll now move on to the Q&A session here. We do have a couple of questions already. A little bit more on the financial side here, but do you have enough cash to complete the current drill program?
We currently have $2.7 million in cash and marketable securities. We have more than enough to cover our drill program. So our drill program, we budgeted at approximately $1.5 million Canadian. So that leaves us with a little bit more than $1 million of buffer, and seeing how we go with our drill program, seeing how the market is doing. We may expand our drill program, we may not, but we always want to leave ourselves with at least a year of working capital.
Great. And then following up on that, when do you expect to need more cash? How do you plan to raise it as non-dilutively as possible?
Well, we plan to find a strategic partner, a mining company, strategic institutional investors. We also plan to hopefully hit mineralization to send the stock up. So if we have to do a raise, it will be at a lot higher price. Again, no one's drilled on this property before. It's very prospective, and we're just really excited about the drilling program that's starting in November.
Great. And then one kind of general follow-up question here, but obviously with Mark's experience with Barrick, what do you see as similarities with what you'd seen at Cortez and Gold Rush?
Well, I think in terms of the overall setting, structurally, it's obviously very similar. We're right on the Cortez fault trend, just coming basically straight south from there. So all that setting is identical to what you see at Cortez Hills. On what we see at surface is mainly upper plate rocks, but we certainly see evidence of low angle structural deformation, which is characteristic throughout the district. And at least one hole that was drilled on this property historically over on the Cortez fault side looks like it came very close to getting in the lower plate. And I didn't quite make it, but there's definitely the stratigraphy indicates that they got very close. They basically cut the hole a little too early. So there are signs that we have elements coming together that are pretty similar to what we see elsewhere in the district.
Great.
So just to add on that, big systems hang out with big systems, and these properties don't go on an east-west trend, they're on a southern trend. And the closer you are to Barrick and Newmont's property, the better for obvious reasons. economies of scale, etc. So we're very excited. Look at any other competitor, they're south of us. We're attached to their property.
Great. Thank you again, Tony and Mark, for their presentation today, and thank you everyone for joining us today.